Let me go to Dr. Mads Gilbert, who's just returned from Gaza, the Shifa hospital. He's back in Norway right now. What did you see in terms of the casualties, both when it comes to white phosphorus and also with this new weapon that you have been talking about called DIME?
I will answer that, but I think it's important to understand that the most devastating weapon they're currently using is actually the siege of Gaza, which has been on for 18 months, which means a lot of starvation, lack of food, water, power supplies, medicines, napkins, anything that people need to live. So it's 1.5 million people who basically is now without their absolutely necessary means for living their lives. And that is, of course, illegal. When it comes to the weaponry, we did not see clear evidence in patients that we received that they had been hit by white phosphorus. But we were told by the doctors and colleagues in Shifa that during the first days of the invasion, the ground invasion, they had seen this affecting as a side effect of the smokescreen use of the white phosphorus. And that was inhalation injuries, meaning that people have been breathing the phosphorus damp into their lungs, and burns. Also, by the end of our mission, when we left, there were fierce attacks in the south. And again, the doctors in the European hospital in South Gaza reported the same thing, burns and inhalation injuries. So it seems like my expert on the northern border is right that using such chemical means in so densely populated areas as Gaza is, you will evidently have to affect also the civilians. When it comes to the DIME weapons, we have seen a substantial number of amputations where the amputees do not have shrapnel injuries. On the contrary, they have torn apart their legs, often 1 or 2 or even 3 limbs, the arm also. Some of them are beyond salvage because the amputations are so high and so fierce that it also affects the lower part of the body. Some are survivable, but typical for these amputations is that there is no sign of metal fragments or shrapnels. It is only this very brutal amputations caused by some extreme power and small rice corn pieces of some kind of substance, not metal, but you know the DIME weapon is a mixture of metals, nickel and cobalt, in a composite cast, not in a metal cast, and that's explaining why you don't see shrapnels. The additional effect in animal studies on the DIME weapon is that the residuals in the muscle in mice will cause a very severe form of muscle cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma, which easily spreads to the lungs. This remains to be shown. I underline, we don't have proof, but we have strong evidence that these amputations we've been seeing in Gaza for the last 11 days must come from some type of weapon that we don't know of.
Can you explain more fully these kinds of amputations, Dr. Gilbert?
You know, often if you have a grenade amputation or an amputation from any type of metal fragment, it will be more like you had a hatch or an axe or a huge knife that cut through your bone and the muscle. What we see in these suspected DIME amputations is that the whole limb is crushed in a way that must suggest some sort of immense power that has hit the lower part of the body. And we know that these small bumps, which the DIME bombs are, explodes in a way so that it will mainly affect the lower limbs. The limbs are, you will have multiple very severe fractures. The muscles are sort of split from the bones, hanging loose, and you also have quite severe burns where this energy wave has hit. If you look at pictures from sites where these patients have come, you don't see fragments in the walls in the house around, maybe 15, 20 meters apart from the explosions, and you see only some stripes of power in the sand on the ground. And these actually are the examples that the power dissipates very quickly, maybe within 5 or 10 meters of the explosion, so that you will not have this kind of collateral damage, as it's called. But in Gaza, again, so densely populated that these DIME weapons will have a devastating effect. Also, they are by some classified as nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons.